Yo, what's up? Welcome to the Kind of Funny Gamescast for Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adio Jr. Joining me from a galaxy far, far away, Tim Gettys.
It's crazy. I went there, and now I'm back. Gonna talk all about it. Star Wars Outlaws, everybody. A woo.
A woo. That's where we're going with it.
What's that?
A woo. Is that what they say in the far galaxy?
It was me getting ready to say woo, and then I said woo, but it was in a hushed tone. You know what I mean? The was more of a breathing in.
I thought you were doing an achievement hunter Awu right there.
No, it's just
What is this?
yeah.
We're also joined by the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
A perplexing start to this.
It's like you watch Ric Flair, but like you forgot, like
Exactly.
You're like, snap, I forgot how he
What
said
did he
it.
say again?
It's like I know what he said. I forgot how he said it.
That's the equivalent to Hip Hop Gamer asking Mike to do a Hadouken and Mike not hearing him or knowing what a Hadouken was and him just going, ah.
God bless Mike.
Remember this?
Had no idea what a Hadouken was. Had no idea.
Golly, that's Mike. Remember
Why
this?
is Mike now Trump?
I had no idea what a Hadouken was. A lot of the voices, man.
Do Trump as Mike shifting blame.
Listen, you want me to do a little Street Fighter sound, but I never played the Street Fighter games. So you should know that. That's on you right there.
That's on you.
That's on you.
That's good. I like that.
Thank you.
That's on you.
Remember, this is Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or on YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be a part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. Of course, this episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast is going to be Tim's Star Wars Outlaws preview. So, write in with your Super Chats, asking Tim questions about his preview. We'd like to answer them. Do that.
Please.
Housekeeping for you. We're an 11-person business all about live talk shows. You just got KHD about whatever me and Greg talked about Twitch and is Twitch in trouble. Right now is Gamescast. After this is Greg playing Fallout London, the new mod that just came out. If you're a Kind of Funny member, today's Gregway is a one-man screencast titled The Bear Season 3 Sucks, which is an insane thing to say. But
Greg
hey,
Miller.
it's Greg Miller. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs and Delaney Twining. Today brought to you by Shady Rays, Hymns, and our Portillo merch, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, topic of the show.
Dots.
No, you ruined it.
Dots.
Tim, you flew down
I did.
to a galaxy far, far away known as Los Angeles.
Galaxy's Edge, technically.
Oh.
We got to go to Disneyland. That's not where we played, but we did get to go to Galaxy's Edge and kind of see it all, which is a pretty sweet, if I do
Was
say
this
so myself.
different days? Like, tell us about how this went.
Flew down to LA or SoCal, technically, somewhere down there. I don't even know where it was. And we went
Anaheim?
to, it was around Anaheim. It was Anaheim adjacent, you know? And then we went to this big, beautiful event space that Ubisoft put together. It was honestly, it was one of the big events. You know, it's been many years since I've been to big preview events. And I feel like Spider-Man 2 last year was the first one post-pandemic that I was like, whoa. They went all out for this. Like, there's like themed statues and like events. Honestly, like way too hard. Like, just like you could just see the money everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's cool. We did that. And we got to play Star Wars Outlaws for 4 hours, and then the next day we were at Disneyland, starting in Galaxy's Edge, which is the Star Wars land, and then we can just kind of do whatever we wanted to. But 4 hours of Star Wars Outlaws, hands on. In between the first 3 hours and the last hour of gameplay, we got to watch 2 different panels about the game as well, talking to the main kind of creative team and then also all of the stars of the game as well. So I know a lot about Star Wars Outlaws. I have many thoughts on Star Wars Outlaws.
And I'll ask you my starter question here, which is, you went to Galaxy's Edge the day after you played about 4 hours of Star Wars Outlaws. Did that, because that sounds like the dream, right? Like Greg Miller, last week talked about watching Deadpool and Wolverine, and then immediately he wanted to play a Marvel game. He was like, "Oh, what can I play? I want to play." He tried out Marvel Rivals, didn't hit for him, but like there was that feeling of, I just experienced a Marvel thing. Let me now, like, I want to live this more. For you, did those 4 hours of Star Wars Outlaws translate to, oh, I'm back into Star Wars hype territory. Let's go to Galaxy's Edge. Let's experience this.
I'm going to watch Acolyte.
I mean, honestly,
rewatch Mando.
Yes, but Star Wars is a little different for me. Star Wars is one where I feel like I never quite leave it. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't know that I'll ever be able to have the highs that I once did for Star Wars in terms of expectations, unless there's a genuine surprise, which has happened to me in the last couple of years. And I love that. I love when it hits so hard because the Star Wars magic, when it's there, it's there. And I feel like where we're at now with Star Wars TV shows, games, everything, and maybe not, I'll take the games out of it, just the TV shows specifically, because we haven't had a movie in many years at this point. With the TV shows, I'm here for the ride. Acolyte's the one show that I haven't started yet, and that was just because my wedding took precedent over that. I would have watched it week to week, though. Like, I'm a Star Wars lifer. I'm going to watch these shows. I enjoy them enough. When they're good, I'm really excited about it. When they're bad, I'm a little let down, but I'm not like, that's the worst fucking thing I've ever seen. Because so far, I don't think they've done that. And I think Book of Boba Fett, from what I've seen, was the closest they got to that. But even that, I was like, it was worth the watch. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm bored. Like, I'm not, again, not defending this. I do wish that they were better. I think they all should be better. But regardless, I'm a Star Wars guy. I really like Star Wars. I like being in the world. And going to Disneyland, going to Galaxy's Edge, it's like, that is such an amazing, authentic experience that even if you've fallen off of Star Wars, you still feel the magic when you're there. You know, it's like that is such an amazing experience that I've been lucky enough to have multiple times. And it's just as cool walking out and seeing the Millennium Falcon every single time. Like, you just get that sense of wow, you know? And to your question, like, yeah, like living in a Star Wars theme park video game, being able to experience that for 4 hours and then the next day actually being in it, they felt like very similar experiences. I think that Star Wars Outlaws nails the feel of Star Wars the same way that Galaxy's Edge does, where even if you're a little bit jaded on Star Wars as a brand, there's still something there that's very special that they don't need to try that hard to be able to pull off something that just feels exactly like it needs to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think just in the sense of like, did it pull me in and make me in that Star Wars mood in the way that Deadpool and Wolverine made Greg in a Marvel mood? Definitely.
Oh,
Did
nice.
you, I guess going into this demo, what are you playing? What's the setup? Are they, hey, we're giving you this chapter at the beginning and then a chapter near the middle so you're a bit more powered up? What's the whole setup here? Because I'm always so interested to hear from these developers and producers of like what the mentality was behind what your demo sort of setup was.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk in, what the heck are you hearing when you sit down? Here's what you're about to experience, Timothy Geddes.
It's so like I said, it was about 3 hours and then about 1 hour. The time might be a little off, but it was 4 hours total. And
Did they have turkey legs? Because at the Elden Ring event, we got to eat big turkey legs.
turkey legs.
Oh
Delicious.
god, I love Bandai Namco.
It was awesome.
Of course, they had turkey legs.
Yeah, it was delicious.
We started off what feels like pretty early in the game. It wasn't the very, very beginning of the game, but just contextually kind of what was happening. It's her coming out of a ship, and there is that big, like, whoa moment of like exploration. So because of that, it felt very early. And you kind of go through and play the first two main missions. And then after the jump of gameplay, then I was playing a later mission in the game to kind of give a little sense of when you're a little bit more powered up, but mainly more just you're on a different planet. You're experiencing a different vibe, both aesthetically, but also kind of with the different syndicates that they've been introducing there. And we got to experience a lot of the different gameplay of this game. So let me take a step back and just top level give my thoughts on this. Going into playing this game, Star Wars Outlaws, I was excited, but not like frothing at the mouth. And after playing it, I'm in the exact same place. I'm still excited for it. I'm just as excited for it. I think it lived up to my expectations, but there wasn't anything about it that wowed me of like, I can't wait to get my hands back on this. Like, oh my God, I'm counting down the days. But knowing it so soon, I'm like, oh, this is going to be rad.
Yeah, let's address the bantha in the room.
Bantha
The elephant,
It's a
but
Star Wars animal.
Yeah, I
get
looked
that
up.
reference.
My Google search is big alien creature Star Wars. You don't love open world games.
No.
Never quite been your jam. Always like you'll play them if it's like that one franchise.
Yeah, like a Zelda.
Do you feel like this lends itself to being this open world? And did that, maybe turn, I guess, like, is that more of a negative than a positive in this sense?
I'm somewhere in between. It's interesting because from what I've experienced so far, it's not big enough to be oh, it's open world, like this is going to be a problem. It does feel like a much bigger Uncharted. It reminds me of the Madagascar area of Uncharted 4, but just kind of over and over and over.
You would have loved our open zone conversation on our building an open world game.
Yeah. Honestly, it does. It feels a little bit more open zone, but I don't mean that as a derivative or as a negative there.
Pejorative.
It feels right. And like, here's the thing. The open world aspects of it, of you can go anywhere and do anything. The systems work really well together, where the core conceit of the game is there are different syndicates. You are a smuggler. You are a very Han Solo type character living in this galaxy. And the whole theme of the game is freedom. It's her trying to find her place in the galaxy and feel a sense of freedom, feel a sense of not having to be tied down to where she came from and all of that. And this takes place after Empire Strikes Back, but before Return of the Jedi. So we're in a place where the Rebel Alliance is being hunted down by the Empire. They're the Rebels and the Empire are in full battle mode. The Battle of Hoth has happened. There's a lot going on in terms of the stakes being high and the awareness, and the Rebel Alliance is at an all-time high. So the Empire is a little preoccupied. That means that these crime syndicates have the least kind of oversight than they've had in many years. So they're stronger than they've been. They're able to be out of the shadows a little bit more, and there's more of them popping up, which I find very enticing as a premise. And there's a really cool system in the game that we've seen a million times, but there's you do something for this syndicate, and that's going to make the other syndicate like you less. But if you do a good thing for them, they like you more, so they'll give you discounts at their stores, or they'll give you free things that they've stolen from others, or they will open up a door for you that other syndicates wouldn't let you do. And as basic as that sounds, it works really well for what this game is, because it being an open world Star Wars game, something that Star Wars has over, I think, literally any other property. And we've talked about this a lot with video games. You've even done a Blessing show about this. Star Wars and video games go so hand in hand, because we know what it should sound like. We know what it should look like. We know the music. There's just like built-in things that are kind of cheat codes to make it feel immersive and make it, you feel like you understand what you need to do, what you're going to do, and what it should be, right? So when they pull that off, it's really just satisfying. And an open world Star Wars game, you start thinking about that, you're like, well, what would that look like? You're just walking around, you go to a cantina, you overhear some conversations, they're talking about some back alley deals, you go out, there's like some crime stuff going on, there's smugglers doing something, maybe you bet on a pod race, maybe you play some sabacc, it's like all that stuff, and you just can do all those things. And what's cool is it doesn't feel checklisty, like, oh, there's all these things, let's do the 10 sabacc games back to back and just check it off the list. It kind of just feels like you're in the cantina and you could play this, you could listen to that, you could do all these things. And it doesn't feel like I'm doing these things to progress the game. It feels more just like all of it feels like part of the experience that she's having.
Okay.
Which is, I think, pretty damn impressive of how they're pulling it off so far.
Very Red Dead coded the way you describe it.
Yeah, but it's Star Wars, right? So it's like there's just that extra layer and sheen, which I also think makes it just feel a little bit like we've seen this before.
Familiar,
a million times.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily feel that exciting, but it does feel very genuine. And it pulled me to want to do a lot of things. During one of the panels, Julian, the creative director of the game, was saying that they designed a lot of the open world around push and pull, of the idea of you're being pushed to do something, but things are pulling you away, which, again, we've seen that a lot. We experienced that. I feel like we talk about that a lot when we are reviewing or previewing games. But to hear him talk about it and then play the game, you really do kind of see that of like, you have a mission that you're on, but you're being pulled to do a whole bunch of different things. But what I appreciated about my experience with this game, being pulled to do the things didn't feel weird as hell. It didn't feel like, oh man, I am in a dire situation. I'm gonna play some chess real quick though.
Yeah, okay.
It's like I felt like I'm not gonna play chess right now, but I might do this other thing because I'm on the way and that feels in line with this, and I'm doing a deal with this person. So if I do a deal with another person, they're gonna like me even more by the time I get to them. It felt role play in a way that like I thought was pretty cool. And again, nothing rocket sciencey here, but it comes together in the Star Wars like vibe very well.
I wanted to ask about how missions are presented to you, because I know that a lot of towns in open world games will have just kind of everything there already. You walk up to all the NPCs and all the missions are there if you want them. One thing I really, really appreciate about the mission design, although as problematic as it is, I think Dragon's Dogma 2 has a really cool way to present missions to you, because there may be 3 people in town early on in the game that have open world things for you to do, and they'll walk up to you, sir, I need help, blah, 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 and that starts you down a little mission path or whatever. And then you may think like, oh, I think I cleared out that whole town, like everybody's good there. But then 8-10 hours later, you're back in that town for whatever reason, and you get another random person walking up to you that did not need help earlier, and they sort of like drip feed these open world missions to you to make it feel dynamic and not just like, all right, you did all the 15 open world missions here, now you're done. Like they're kind of like presenting. Did you notice anything like that where maybe one person didn't have anything to ask of you, and then later on, in your demo session, maybe you just didn't have enough time?
We didn't have enough time for that, because the majority of what I played was very much 2 missions back to back that they were like, don't really do too much of the open world stuff. You can if you want, but like, we want to make sure you at least do these missions. When you finish those, you can spend the rest of your time doing open world stuff.
So 20 minutes 20 hours in, you're not getting like Glarmo Schliebo walking up to you and like, I need help over here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because the world does feel very lived in. It does feel like there's a lot going on within these zones. So I wouldn't be surprised if you are coming back to the planet and things are kind of new popping up and happening, because especially with the syndicate system, like that is an ever-flowing thing where you go to a different planet and word gets back that you've double-crossed people.
That's
and things like that change. And that to me is what I thought was the coolest part of what I played. Is you start off in one of the levels, you go through, you get you're on a mission, and you're really kind of face to face with like one of the crime bosses. I think it was one of the heads of the Pike Syndicate, and they're just like, yo, we have some information on this Empire ship that got taken from us, and it's essentially like the knock list from Mission Impossible.
Cool.
Where it's like this list has a lot of information and people's names that we don't want out there. So we need you to go get it, or else like I'm gonna fuck you up because you're trespassing and you shouldn't be here. So you're like, all right, cool, I got you. And then you need to go get a ship, and then you get the ship, and then you actually have to team up with a Crimson Dawn person who is the against the Pikes. And they're like, all right, I'm gonna help you with this ship, but we don't like them. We're just going to get you up there because we want your money here. And, it's the classic Lando, Han, like that type of vibe. But then you take off and you're in the now space aerial gameplay, which I thought was pretty cool. Didn't play too much of it, so I don't think that it's, I don't think there's going to be that much of it in the game. Just like the balance from what I experienced. I'm like, all right, cool. This is just going to be a little break up for a couple bits. But what I liked about this is it was fun enough to control. And they kind of use this to be the walk and talk sections where you're playing a game and all of a sudden everything slows down. You have to walk to listen to people talk. Mm-hmm. This is a much more fun and Star Wars way to handle that, where there's fun little dogfight shootout things, but then you're getting the like Star Fox-esque kind of like VO dialogue coming in. You're like, oh, okay, I get what we're doing here. But Star Wars music's playing, you're flying around a ship shooting things. It's fun, And after you get through all that, you then are getting you're boarding into one of the Imperial ships, and like there's TIE fighters around you, kind of like helping you, or not helping you, but like escorting you in. And as that's happening, the Crimson Dawn head that you're working with is talking to you like, hey, just letting you know, I know that I helped get you here. You're going in to steal this for the Pikes. You could double cross them. You could give it to us. We can expose it to the galaxy, and then those names, they're out there for everybody. And I would find that very favorable or whatever. And then you're kind of like, how do I know you're not just going to double cross me the moment I give it to you? And like them having that conversation,
Trust
I was
me,
like,
dog.
I'm kind of into this. Like I'm kind of into like the systems of like who trusts you and who doesn't are embedded in the story and embedded in these moments that I was like, oh wow, I actually am surprised at how much I'm invested in who do I want to side with. Now the problem with that is there's no real question. I'm not siding with the fucking Pikes. Crimson Dawn's cool.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going all Crimson Dawn all the time.
They're going to have way cooler merch.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
when
So
they
I'm just
send you
like,
their merch drop.
interesting. But the Hutts are another syndicate. We didn't really get to deal with them too much. And then there was another one that we saw that it's like a new species, as far as I know. But that was in the latter part of the gameplay I did, where we're introduced to them on the planet from Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, that Kerry Russell's character is on. And so you're on that planet, which is like very snowy. And I was very impressed with the graphics at moments of this game. So there was you're walking around the snowy planet from Episode 9, Kashimi. Thank you, kebabs. And stormtroopers are kind of like taking over the city, classic Star Wars stuff. And they're just standing there, but the snow falling on their armor, it just looks awesome. Like there's like a lot of like cool thought put into those things. But then there'll just be a lot of technical visual bugs. Like I noticed a lot of like weird performance issues that I'm not surprised were there, and they never got in the way of my experience, but it definitely wasn't ideal. You know, a couple audio bugs as well. But they were there for sure.
Sure.
And I think it's going to drive people like Andy absolutely insane. And I hope they figure that stuff out.
I got a lot more questions. One, gameplay. Is it always widescreen? Is that an option?
Nope.
Okay.
Even when we played, it wasn't. So I don't even think that's the default. I think that is a setting that you can
turn on.
Yeah, I think
that
they
you can
mentioned
turn on, yeah.
Gotcha.
the ultra wide aspect ratio.
Sick. I got a
Yeah.
lot more questions, but before I get there, let me tell you about patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames, where you can go and get the Kinda Funny membership, which allows you to get shows ad-free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair that we've worn. Y'all know I've been outside a lot playing Pokemon Go, and it's been a great experience wearing my Shady Rays when I'm out and about looking dope. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Exclusively for y'all, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal. You can head to shadyrays.com and use code KINDAFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Shadyrays.com, use code KINDAFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. This episode is brought to you by Hims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims has treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing access to affordable sexual health treatments, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments, such as chewable hard mints, proven treatments like Viagra or Cialis, or their generics for up to 95% cheaper. No insurance is needed. Pay one low price for your treatments, online visits, ongoing shipments, and provider messaging. And the process is simple and 100% online, so no uncomfortable in-person visits necessary. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/kindafunny. That's HIMS.com/kindafunny for your personalized ED treatment options. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions, details, and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Good news! A new run of my children's book, Portillo the Wiener Dog Thinks He's a Manatee, is available for pre-order right now! Head over to kindafunny.com/store to snag one before the end of the week. And while you're there, pick up a few items from our Portillo merch line, including shirts, crew necks, and hats. Already got them? Grab them for your favorite best friend. Christmas is only 5 months away!
And we're back. A reminder, you can write in with your super chats if you want to have any questions for Tim about Star Wars Outlaws. We'll get to those later, though. But during the break, Tim, you mentioned that you had something to say.
Yeah, I feel like I just want to get my thoughts on the game overall across. And the best way I can do that is saying this game reminds me in almost every way of Solo, a Star Wars story, where it's Han Solo, but it's not Han Solo. You know, the main character in this game, I like her a lot. She reminds me a lot of Han Solo. but she's not Han Solo. And I feel like a lot of people I've been talking to seem to be more down on her than I am. But it's not the highs. And it does just feel like, all right, cool, we're doing an archetype we've seen before. It reminds me of Solo in the way that when we first saw that Solo trailer, we're getting some synth sounds in Star Wars. And it was like, bro, this is freaking
They're
cool.
doing something different, yeah.
And we see the logo, and it was a bit more like neon-y and like cool text graphics and stuff. This game does that too. But it's like, all right, cool. There's a little style over substance here. You know what I'm talking about? And it's like, all right, cool. It's like, oh my God, Donald Glover is Lando. There's nothing cooler than that in the world. It's like, but what's the consequence of him in the movie? Is there really any, or is it just kind of like he's here now? And I feel like that's my experience with this game. The heist mission in Solo, the movie, was super fun. It was great. Missions I'm doing here, they're super fun. It's just what's surrounding it, what's bringing it together to make it like something extra good. I'm not sure that it has that secret sauce, but it's a video game, and it's a Star Wars video game. And so far from what I'm playing of this, it reminds me so much more of Uncharted than what I expected. And I want more Uncharted. I'm into this. I think that there is going to be something here for a lot of people that might have already written this game off for one reason or another. I think y'all should give this one a chance. I think that this has more fun for people. It reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy, the game that came out a couple years ago, where I'm like, not everyone's going to love it. Some people are expecting higher.
I think some people are expecting, maybe this might be putting too much to it, but like, you know, there has been that feeling of missing a Star Wars 1313, right? People have been wanting that game for over a decade, and it went from that got canceled, and then the new Amy Hennig game got greenlit, and we saw 2 seconds of it, and then that got canceled. And I think there's been this pent up, oh, we want that game. We want a game where we're playing as a Star Wars scoundrel with a gun, where we're exploring and doing all this stuff. And I think this game is kind of finally that, but it might not be able to come with that level of execution that people might want from that game that they've been waiting over a decade for. And that's not on Ubisoft, right? Ubisoft just wants to make a Ubisoft game.
Yeah. And it's funny because like this to me doesn't feel like a Ubisoft game in those traditional sense, but in the good ways, I think it is. The quality ways, I think it is. But so far, my experience with this, I would give a 7.5, but like an enthusiastic 7.5. Like I'm having fun with this. I'm going to beat this game. I think that says something. That Tim Geddes is going to sit down and beat this game. There's something there. So definitely enjoying it. But I do want to talk about the gameplay.
Okay. Let's get to it.
Do you have some questions?
I was gonna take it to story because I was curious.
Okay, go for it.
I'll look at story and then we'll get to gameplay. Because
I'm
earlier
curious
just
about
now,
villains.
Yeah, you just mentioned Kay Vess earlier, and you mentioned that you liked her, but though there seemed to be a vibe around like people maybe not being into her as much. I want to hear more about Kay Vess and how she worked for you, and then also just characters and villain and overall plot and story, because you talked about the syndicates earlier as well from a gameplay perspective and how that feeds into like the choices you're making. All that sounds cool. Does that translate to a good plot? So far.
So I would say, yeah. I don't want to come off more negative than I am on this. So I just want to be real. I feel like serviceable is the word, but I mean that as a compliment, not as like, oh, fuck, it's serviceable and whatever. It's like they're doing such a good job of this being Star Wars that it is just Star Wars. And I feel like it's not bad Star Wars, though, which it easily could be. So they're pulling off like the plot so far. It's not like I haven't seen any of this before, but the vibe of Han going to Jabba and just being like, Jabba, come on. Like, it's that energy, which, like, come on, they're not to love about that? Like, that's cool.
Where are you feeling at it compared with a Jedi Fallen Order or a Jedi?
I'm just going to say it like it is. I know a lot of people are like, I'm so sick of being a Jedi. I'll never be sick of being a Jedi. I don't think that there's a world where I don't prefer the Jedi games than this, but that's fine. You know, I still think the smuggler stuff's cool. But yeah, I feel like they're surprisingly more similar than I would have expected. And this is a bit more on the gameplay side, but we'll get to that in a second. But in terms of the story, I'm here for it. Like in terms of the characters, I think that a lot of them are just, they're like the character we know, but they're a different character, which isn't necessarily bad because people get upset when it's just member berry shit of like, oh, they're here, it's such a small universe, like all that stuff. But then when you get other characers that are just the character but slightly different, it's
just
like
a similar archetype.
But it's also that's Star Wars. Like I don't know. Like it's hard to.
It's like
hold it against it.
I would compare it to something like D&D, where it's like you're going to get the same character classes. You know, you're
Exactly.
you're gonna get
That's what it is.
You need the
That's great.
sarcastic dude. You need the dude that's going to be like kind of an asshole, but then there's a cool character moment where
It's
you're
like
like,
you need the
oh,
warrior,
you have a heart of gold.
you need the mage, you know, you need the dude who plays music. I forget what they're called.
Bard?
The bard. Yeah, you need the
He plays
bard.
music. Yeah, it's you're right. It really does remind me of that. And I think so far, like there was no story thing that I'm like, I just don't care about this. Everything I was like, all right, cool. I get this. I'm doing this to do that, and this makes sense. And I guess just overall, I didn't get the vibe of being invested in her story. Like it feels so by the numbers that I'm like, I could just see where this is going. And like, I don't know how much your choices are really going to affect that stuff. Nor do I think that they necessarily need to, but I don't expect to be blown away by the end of this game and like really have those like emotional moments. And like, I would say that the Fallen Order story did sit with me in a way that I'm like, oh, I care about Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
Like,
By the time you put down Fallen Order, it's like oh man, that was a time.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll get that, but I don't know that we won't.
That bums me out, and I think part of me wonders why Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, and even this video game, Star Wars Outlaws, I wonder if there's the director from up top of, we create this new hero, that's new opportunities for sales and merch and stuff like that. But like on the opposite side of that, I would love to just create one of my own characters in this game. And so like if this character isn't knocking your socks off with dialogue and meaningful writing, it's like, well, I'd almost rather just create my own dude if you're not doing something super special with this character.
So that's where this is a little rough though. Her performance is very good.
Okay.
Her line delivery is very good. It's just she's not.
And I think we could have gotten that with
anything.
but like,
But there's enough personality that it doesn't feel like a creative character.
okay.
It just feels like an archetype. Like it's complicated. And
You
again,
gotta be sarcastic, you gotta be witty, you gotta,
and
be a little dangerous.
She is like, and I think she does a very good job. And her dynamic with Nyx, your little creature friend, is very, very nice. It's just we've seen it before, like a million times actually, you know. But I'm gonna go as far as saying I am defending her character so far in a way that I feel like I get the vibe of the preview event is people were down on her, and I was like, no. I think there's something here. But I also like the Nathan Drake type character in Banter.
Me too.
And and they bring it, and the dialogue didn't feel repeated and stuff. It felt very like, okay, cool. I'm in the moment. I like what's going on with this. So I'm rocking with her so far. I don't think people are going to be too disappointed in it.
Did you get to meet a villain or the villain?
So that's the thing.
Is there a villain?
I don't know yet, but
Yeah.
like there's a lot of villains.
We
but
keep
like,
seeing this old guy in the trailers.
Yeah. There was like we did interact in certain ways, but right now it's very much there's the different syndicates. We're kind of getting to know them, and there's a lot of villains, but it's more who are the antagonists and antagonistic forces you're dealing with on the different planets in the specific missions. Because one mission, it's like very much the Empire and the Stormtroopers are the bad guys, but then when you get to the planet, there's no Empire anymore, so you don't even need to worry or deal with that. Then you just need to deal with, well, shit, I should have double crossed the Pikes, but I didn't, so now Crimson Dawn's mad at me or whatever, and so they're coming after you. And again, it kind of felt real, like it felt like authentic to what they've built because it is Star Wars. So like when you see them, you're like, oh shit, I'm in Hutt territory. You know what I mean?
So it feels like there would be a pretty noticeable difference between, well, this playthrough, I'm going to side with this crew.
I do think so. Even if, like, at the end of the day, when you start breaking down what a video game is and the skeleton of it all, like, how different can those experiences really be? So I don't think it's going to be the most drastic. It's a different genre game, but I do think it's the type of thing of like, oh wow, like maybe if you sided with one group, there's going to be like more sniper type characters up on one of the ridges on the left, but if you sided with the others, they're going to actually come from above you and be a bit more melee focused. Like, I do think that like it's drastic enough gameplay differences and story differences that there's going to be something there, but I also don't think it's going to be like the most like mind melding things of all time.
So let's then get into gameplay a bit. How was the shooty shoot? Was it fun? Was it good?
It was fine. Like it's very serviceable, and like
it's not what I want to hear.
Yeah,
because I'm telling you, shooting a laser has never felt good in a game. I'm telling, like I've felt that ever since the first Battlefront games. I'm like, shooting this laser doesn't feel like I'm really doing anything to these things. Like there's no, like, there's such a lack of impact there.
Let me tell you, Barrett felt an impact when we were playing Battlefront 2. I was fucking destroying his troops with my lasers. There was an impact there, wasn't there,
Why
Barrett?
you gotta bring that up?
I was
What's going on? I don't need to fucking catch a stray right now.
So
I was just
funny.
thinking
Fuck
about
you,
it,
Bless.
Barrett.
I will say it almost feels like they overcompensated for your problem, where it doesn't really feel like you're shooting a laser. It kind of does just feel like you're shooting bullets. But it feels fine. It really does feel fine. It's
Customizing weapon?
so there's different kind of modes you can use for your laser, where there's like a bit more of like a charge shot thing, and then there's one where it like stuns enemies, and like there's like the one hit kind of knockout. There's a lot more stealth in this game than I expected. And there was a lot more like insta fail type stealth sections that reminded me of the Spider-Man 2 stealth, like where there's all the snipers with the lasers. If you get caught once, you have to restart the whole thing.
Even the rhino catching you. Shit scared me, man.
Which, like, I don't know if it works with the pacing of this game.
Yeah.
Like that, it does kind of feel like, oh, I don't know about this, because like by the third time I got caught by a stormtrooper I didn't see because they were like coming from behind an alleyway. I was like, I know what I need to do. I don't want to do this again. I get good, I get it, but like there's something about that I was like, this isn't the most engaging thing. But in terms of the gun upgrades or the laser upgrades, I was here for it. Like I feel like looking at what you can upgrade in this game, I was like, this doesn't feel overwhelming, and it feels like when I got an upgrade, I was excited to use it, which I think is always how you want these type of games to go. Is like,
is that the only gun?
So far. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
But it feels like
at least
there's
I
enough
think so.
modifiers to make it feel different than like other people's sort of like, if you're going full stealth, you might have all of these perks, but if you're going just full melee and explosions or whatever.
Yeah, was it the only gun? I think it was. It was a couple of weeks ago that I played this, so I'm a little bit hazy there. But what is interesting though is the gun is just half of it, because the other half is your little homie Nyx, the little dude that's just kind of like your pet essentially and your friend, and you're constantly talking.
He's
to
your
Nyx,
BB-8
and your BD1 from
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah,
Fallen
BD-1.
Order, and yeah, that's exactly what he is, and that's what I was saying earlier. You would be surprised how similar this game is to Jedi Survivor. Anytime like you're sneaking around doing something, you're like, all right, there's a locked door. I need to unlock the door. How do I unlock the door? Go get him, Nyx. It's just very, very like Nyx is integral to the gameplay in a way that I don't really like. I'm going to be honest. It feels a little old type of video game, like era that
Stay on the goddamn ship, Nyx.
at one point this would have been like, oh my God, this is so cool and engaging. And now it's just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just jaded to this
Been
type
there,
of thing,
done
but
that.
it feels very been there, done that. And I more than that didn't like the way Nyx controlled to tell him what to do. Like there's certain parts where it's like you can have him go out and like distract the enemies as they're coming in, so you can go in and get the melee stealth kills or whatever. And I found the buttons to be a bit cumbersome, and I was getting little crab hands every once in a while of like, I know what I want to do, and it's a little hard to get it done. So maybe you'll get used to it. Maybe you'll push through that. But
Was there any customization there with control settings?
yeah, there's a ton of stuff, but I didn't want to mess around too much with the controls.
Could you talk into the PlayStation microphone?
Nyx,
go get him some shit. Sick 'em.
Nyx definitely was cute as hell, and I, even though I didn't love some of the gameplay implementations, love Nyx just as a vibe. I think Nyx adds to the game a lot in terms of the cutscenes and story bits, and making her feel like a interesting character. Like their dynamic, I believe in it. You want to protect this little guy. Like they did the thing, and I think they did it well. But yeah, the other thing I want to talk about is some of the like more mini game elements of the game, or even just like, I don't
Side
know if you'd call them
activities.
side activities, but also
tell me
like
about Sabak.
like unpicking locks. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like I don't know if that's a mini game, but I guess it kind of
Yeah,
is.
it is. I would say
This
so.
game has 2 different lock picking systems, and both of them are really freaking cool.
Wow.
Nice.
And we'll see if it lasts for the whole game. But
Where
one
would
of
you
them-
put that on our rating scale? Both of them.
I mean, I don't know, because I only played 4 hours, and there was enough variation in them that I was like, hey, these are fresh and different. But like after 1,000 times, one of them I'd probably give a 6.5, just because I'm like, I haven't experienced this. It's something fresh
Much
and different.
lower than I thought.
But it might. I mean, but at the end of the day, these things, like, what are we doing here? You know, how fun can these actually be?
I mean, they could be really great sometimes.
You think?
And it's not just the gameplay of it; it's the sounds. It's
Wow.
the aura of it. Sometimes you have those little clicks. It's like, oh, it feels good to do.
So I'm going to bump that 6.5 up to a 7. Just for you, Andy.
Whoa.
Just for you, because you brought up sound, and that's what this is. It is a sound puzzle where it is almost a Simon Says type thing, where you get feedback, like the haptic feedback, and there's sounds, like digital sound signatures that are happening in the lock, where the lock will go doot, 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 and then it like goes around, and you need to then hit the buttons to that beat of doot, doot, doot. And if you're off,
Little rhythm game.
it doesn't do it. It's rhythm, but in a way that I've never experienced before. And like some of them will be syncopated in ways that like feel like some of them are pretty difficult, and some of them are like, all right, this is like very easy. But I liked the variations in them, and they felt the right amount of stressful when a group of stormtroopers is coming in. You got to get in really quick, and you're like, you're and you mess up the super easy signature, but it's like, oh, this feels good. This feels like I am a smuggler running away from this situation. So I enjoyed that.
Out of the controller speaker, like, you almost got me. The lock talks to you.
The lock mini game that I was incredibly impressed by, and I would give it an 8.5.
Whoa.
Scale.
Holy shit.
It's Wordle. It's straight up Wordle.
We saw this during the presentation, I believe.
So, and have you played Wordle?
Yeah, I mean, I was obsessed with it at the start of it.
So it is, it's Wordle, where instead of it being words, it's Star Wars, just symbols and stuff. But you can also, there's a lot of accessibility options in the game. From what I've seen, anything that we've been seeing in modern games is there, which seems great. But one of the things here for accessibility is they give you the option to just turn it into numbers. So it turns into a bit more of just like a Sudoku type look. Because like some of the symbols are like
kind of similar looking.
Here's a circle with like a circle in the middle of it, and then here's a circle with 2 circles in the middle of it. And it's like, I don't know, fuck, this is confusing. But you need to find the right combination of what order they're supposed to be in. And like after you choose them and put them in, it'll like turn either green, red, or yellow. And it's like something like that. Those colors might be off, but like green's like, oh, you got it right. Red is you got it wrong. Yellow is that symbol is right in the line, but it's in the wrong place. And it's fun to just kind of like look at what you have and like try to beat it, because the sooner you get it, you get more rewards. And then after a certain point, like it didn't feel like you could fail. Like it just like kind of keeps letting you go, because it's trying to be fun. It's not trying to like make you hate yourself. You don't get anything from it, but it was a cool system that I was very surprised that once we jumped in the gameplay to the second bit, where it was like further in the game, it was like Wordle on crack with like upgrades and abilities and like different like modifiers, where it's like you're playing like multiple Wordles at once, like combining, and like words would connect, where it's like, all right, cool, the red, yellow, and green of it also works with like your selection pool of what you're pulling from. There's just layers to Wordle in a way that I was like, this is really sick. Like they pulled this off for a little lock picking. That's fun.
I want to bring in a super chat speaking about gameplay from War Table Entertainment, who says, how's the progression system or expert system? Did you get a feel for a progression?
Yeah, it was interesting where it wasn't the traditional, like, here's a skill tree and you're just kind of like going through a bunch of stuff. But there's a lot of things in the menus, and there's a lot of things you can upgrade. It very much seemed like you get to choose, do you want to be stealthier, or do you want to upgrade your weapons? Like on your ship, very similar to Fallen Order, like there is places you can go to kind of like customize your outfits and your weapons and all of that. And then this expert system is a lot of just the NPCs that are around the world. You go talk to them, you do different missions for them, and they kind of just give you different abilities and like just different upgrades for speed for different things. We didn't get to go too far into this because we didn't have that long to play the game. And I keep going back to Uncharted, but I cannot explain to you guys how Uncharted this game mission structure is, where it's very... You're in a bit of an open thing. You're talking to people. You get a cutscene. Now you're in a monster closet. Now you get another cutscene. Here's a bigger, more boss fighty type thing. And because it's so like, maybe a stealth sequence here or there. Here's a vehicle sequence, which is you in the sky. There's not that much time to when you're like interested in like there's big set piece things happening. I wasn't spending much time in the menus like upgrading my character because I was engaged. I was like, oh, I want to keep playing. This is fun and I like this a lot.
All right. Another super chat for you from Didio.
Ooh.
They say any mention of Dash Rendar.
No, not yet at least. I wouldn't be surprised if we get one.
What's the deal with Dash Rendar?
Shadows of the Empire. The
You're just saying
N64 game.
Oh, gotcha.
And what about Sebulba? Oh, the Puccino Baza.
So fucking good, dude.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
fucking
do your
good.
Trump as
So, speaking of Sebulba, one of the biggest mistakes of this game and The Last Jedi. Everyone wants to talk shit about The Last Jedi for so many reasons. They don't talk about the true reason The Last Jedi should be shit on for the rest of time. Instead of pod racing, they had those stupid space horses
So
in the
stupid.
race. You know what I mean? That's the
But
real
if we save
crime
these,
of
if
that
we
movie.
save them, then like we save the whole galaxy. But your friends are dying
I'm
up
not even
there,
gonna
but we
get into
don't
the
even
plot.
care.
I'm not even going to get into the plot, Andy. I'm not questioning that. I'm just questioning where the fuck were the pod racers. And I ask once again to everybody, to the creators of Star Wars Outlaws, where the fuck are the pod racers? Why am I betting on these space horses? And I know the answer is because they're literally the space horses from Canto Bight. She's from Canto Bight. The main character.
That's so unfortunate.
She's from
for
that
her.
planet, but like, you know, which I think we'll get some good stuff there. I do think they're going to flesh that out and what. I mean, I am just joking to an extent here, but yeah, one of the mini games is you're betting on these horse races.
Did
Star
pod
Wars
racing?
is
so
scared
cool.
of pod racing for some
Did they
reason.
just not? Did the pod races not make it off that one planet?
I don't know
No,
because
they're
we
from all
know
over.
that they're on different planets. Like, even Bad Batch has an episode in season 2 where it is very clear that they wanted to do pod racing, but then they call it like fucking like danger racing or
That's
something.
so
and
stupid. I'm
it's
mad.
so fucking. And so I think it's like
I'm mad.
You're scared because the prequels.
I don't. I think there's some fear of like we can't bring back pod racing because it ruined the prequels, which is like that's not what the problem with the prequels was. The problem was that it took up like a quarter of that movie and nothing had moved forward like an hour in.
Oh, the pods did.
There he is.
I mean, it was the
There he
whole. It was
is.
the whole point of it, man. It was the best part of it.
Yeah.
It was the best part. It just didn't belong in that movie. It needed to be somewhere else. On a similar question.
That's my rebuttal.
God, it's so you're so fucking right. Tim, do you think we'll get to hang out with Hondo Tanaka in this game? Because that's all I want.
I do.
Like
Yeah.
Blessing wants to know who he is.
Yeah.
He's the guy from the ride, the guy on the top
Oh.
from the He's like
Well, he's
Rise
really
of the
a
Resistance.
character from the Clone Wars show that
he's
they put.
that's
into
how the
But I know him
animatronic
for the ride,
moves.
though. I did the ride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
He's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
host of the Millennium Falcon ride. Yes.
cool.
Looks kind of weird. He kind of just looks like if Family Guy took a celebrity and then made them like a direct sort of like alien transformation. Because the glasses throw me off on this dude.
Millennium
He's a
Falcon
cool
ride. That's the one that
pirate
made
guy.
me sick. I'm pretty sure. Right? Is that the one where like
Motion, yeah, it's
Yeah.
shaking.
Ooh, that made me real sick. I did not like that.
So, yeah, it can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we bring up a photo of Hondo?
Yes.
I do think the vibes of this game are very Hondo, Barrett.
See, that's all I need. I
Put that on the
and
back
here's
of the box.
thing. And here's the thing. He says that, and I completely understand him. Because you know what? Look at this guy.
But you
Look at
gotta.
this freak. I fucking love him. And if that's the vibe of this game, I'm
Wait,
fucking
that's
down.
Hondo?
I am.
Yeah.
That's
Groot.
Hondo.
But he doesn't look like that in real life. Like
What does that mean?
that's the
What does that mean?
if you've ever met him in real life, no, like you know how like the Star Wars anime shows they drastically will stylize the way
Yeah.
their characters look. That's the way he looked in the ride. Like
But
So
again,
he's not been in a live
but
action
again,
movie.
also he existed as a character before the ride.
oh, see, I didn't know that. See, look at this second version.
This guy?
Is this like a cosplayer? I just don't
think
like
that,
this.
No, I think that's the guy on the ride.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Look,
It
like
is, yeah. The
Yeah,
ride
it's
is a
not
real
great.
person. And then
Hondo
there's the
did not
anime.
age great. I'll be real there. But yeah, he was in the Clone Wars literally all the way back in like 2009, and then he was also in Star Wars Rebels. We don't talk about this character's design either.
Yeah.
Lifted Eye writes in and says, "How would you compare Outlaws to Avatar Frontiers?
They're absolutely different. Like I feel like they're not even they're not
Comparable?
It's like Star Wars is more Uncharted and Avatar is more Far Cry. And I like that is a big distinction. Like we're talking about Ubisoft games, like Avatar is a Ubisoft game. Like this is not. There are Ubisoft elements in it, but like I definitively would not call this a Ubisoft game. And again, this is from the makers of The Division, so it's a little bit different, you know? I definitely would put it more in line with that.
Daniel S. writes in and says, any word of a performance mode on consoles?
No.
No, as in you don't know? Or
No,
no, as
I
in-
just don't know. I just don't know.
Justin T. Mars writes in and says, I feel like anything Star Wars is graded on a steep curve, not in its favor. I think we expect Star Wars things to give us the same wonder as our first Star Wars love.
I think that while that is true, I think I also just spent an hour explaining why the Star Wars stuff lifts the experience up so much, and like they do such a good job of it being authentic and fun that like if you took the Star Wars away from this game, I think the interest I would have in it would drop significantly.
That's my thing. Is like I disagree from the sense that like I think the only reason why I'm looking forward to Star Wars Outlaws is that it is in the Star Wars universe, and I'm somebody who's like I'm Star Wars fan adjacent more than I'm a Star Wars fan, right? Like Star Wars is enough to get me interested because I just I like swords that are lasers, and I think the stormtroopers be looking cool sometimes, and I don't know. There's cool shit going on in Star Wars, and so like Outlaws, I'm like okay, yeah, I'll experience that because of the Star Wars thing.
I loved just the visuals of KVS walking through a big shipyard and seeing a bunch of people around you doing their thing, doing their job. They're working on a spaceship or walking through that cantina. Like those are kind of the vibes that I'm wanting from a game like this. And I hope I can just kind of feel like I am this little dirty little rascal in this cool world, like I want to be a little shady dude,
I got 2 more quick hit super chats for you. Marcel LaForge says, y'all looking handsome today. I love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Y'all
that.
do look good. That's what happens when Greg Miller doesn't show up. And then Waleed is now, I can't see the last word. I'm going to assume it says gamer. Waleed is now a gamer, says, FYI not covered yet. PSVR 2 sales are up 2,000%. Sold out on Amazon, UK, and US at $350. Definitely not dead and selling like hotcakes. 2024 lineup is great too.
Up 2,000%, so it sold 3 more units.
8, yeah, maybe about 8 more units.
Well, it's because they open it up,
Yeah.
They're like, now you can use this everywhere now. Like, you can use it on Steam now, so that's...
2024 lineup for VR is looking good. Andy, name one VR PSVR game coming out this year.
That hasn't come out?
Or that has.
Oh, Astrobot.
That's not a VR. That's not. Yeah,
fuck.
that's a
Yeah,
console.
wow, really?
Yeah,
That's just a
Astrobot's not
PS5
VR.
game.
you would think. Yeah,
That's
for a
wild.
game that started off as VR, you think.
if
We're
that-
you
such
would want to
fucking
support that
We're
platform, you would put a really good game. Yeah.
I couldn't name you one. I'll let that move on.
I was going to say Thrasher, but that's not going to be on PSVR.
Is it not?
It's going to be on MetaQuest, and then it's
You're
coming to
lying.
like PC later this year.
Well,
I'm still
if
waiting
you buy
for-
the adapter and the PSVR 2 and you have a PC, then you could play Thrasher on it, I assume.
and a bunch of other games.
Well, later, because I think it's exclusive to MetaQuest Store right now, and then it's coming later to Steam. I'm still waiting for the reviews to get a page on OpenCritic
When's that-
because it's reviewing super fucking well, and I need those points.
When's that Batman game coming out?
Oh, I have no. I don't think
Arkham?
we have a date for that.
Hugh Janus in chat, which is a great name. It says Horizon wasn't this year. No, it was not. It was last year. Tim, before we get out of here,
Yeah.
I got one last question for you that I like to ask during our previews. It's one that I stole from Janet Garcia. It's an activity called Rosebud and Thorn.
Oh, I love that.
So-
there are a couple more super chats though. I saw. Come
Oh, did some
yeah,
come in?
Yeah. I think I saw 2 more that I would like to at least get.
Oh
because
yeah,
they're
War
on
Table here
topic.
says, did you play Sabak?
Did play Sabak. Yes, a lot of Sabak actually. It is everywhere, and
Yeah.
I think Sabak is a perfect example of what I've been saying of. It is the tried and true. It is, if you've been a Star Wars fan and you've played Sabak before, like the card game, it is the card game. That's cool. I'm not one of those people. I was very confused by the rules. I get it though. It seems like there's a lot of depth to it. Didn't quite get me on that immediate Queen's Gambit high that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did, but I can see people getting really into it. So there's something here. But what I really loved about the Sabak is how it was implemented into the world. It's a perfect example of what I'm saying. It never felt like, here's the mini game you get to do on the side. It's like, oh, we're in the cantina and there's a group of people playing there. I want to go play with them. Like it felt immersive in a Star Wars way
That's cool.
was very cool. And anywhere Sabak popped up, every time I noted, I was like, that's cool. I like this.
Nice. Then we got one more from Basics Media Hub who says, look, just make a Star Wars RTS and call it a day. That's what people really want.
That's what they want.
That's what people
Give
really
it to
want.
Mike. You know, Mike would love a Star Wars RTS.
Listen, if I was into RTSs, a Star Wars RTS would sound pretty cool.
Have we not had one? That is actually a major miss.
Yeah.
That seems like such a great, like, think of all the different like classes of like vehicles and just stormtroopers and shit to be able to send out there.
Yeah, we get
Brynwood
so many
says they
questions
exist.
from Mike. Be like, hey, this Empire, like, we feel pretty
like
good
them?
about them, right? We like them. We like them.
Empire at War.
I'm still more blown away that like I haven't been able to create a Star Wars character since probably the MMO. That's so weird to me.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to do a creator character in this age of Star Wars.
They got that remake. Actually, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
They got that Knights of the Republic or Knights of the Old Republic
and even
remake.
if they had pulled that off, I feel like there would have been a weird thing where they would have because everything has to be canon that's story now. I just don't think they're ever going to give leeway for people to create their own things within a canonized thing. And my theory with that KOTOR remake is that they were going to try to maybe not make it fully canon, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't think you're wrong.
They shifted studios though. They're making that thing.
They're making that thing.
Sure.
It's
Everett,
not an
you
Eclipse,
could make
right?
a character in that, right? When that came out, I never played KOTOR. I assume that was a created character.
No,
It wasn't.
It's more like the vibes.
KOTOR?
Yeah.
I'm playing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I would have bet money that you created a character in KOTOR. So yeah, you'll get to make one more, and then never again.
I don't know, man.
It breaks my heart. I just want to I want to make my dude and exist in this world and not already come with the baggage of whatever KVS has or what's his face and redhead guy, Cal Kestis.
Give me another racing game. Why has it been so long since a Star Wars racing
You're
game?
gonna get one. It's gonna be a fucking horse racing.
Oh my god, please no. God, no.
You've been waiting for racing to return to the Star Wars universe.
I mentioned
oh my god, and then you hear
I need someone to do an investigative YouTube breakdown of why the fuck Star Wars is scared of pod racing.
It's
There's got to
man.
be a story.
Warhammer came up earlier today in the Slack, and I was at a party over the weekend, and one of the people that I was hanging out there with is a game developer, right? And we got into a conversation about Warhammer, and he was telling me about why there's so many Warhammer games, and I was like, damn. And then today, the game that came up today was this game Warhammer 40K Speed Freaks.
I don't like that there's two E's in freak. I really dislike that.
And you look up this game, it has a Steam page coming out August 6th. It's a racing game. Warhammer is getting a racing game. Why can't Star Wars get a racing game? People would play it.
Yeah.
I would at least.
Speed Freaks,
right.
two E's.
Speed Freaks with 2 E's. Anyway, Rose, Bud, Thorn. Tim, what I want from you, again, this is to credit to Janet Garcia. A rose is something that you really liked from your demo. A bud is something that you're waiting to see for the final game. The thorn is something that you didn't like from your demo. I want your rose, bud, and your thorn.
Rose is how authentically Star Wars Uncharted this feels, and that gets me very excited. And I am very much looking forward to playing through this game.
All right. Your bud. Something that you're waiting to see from the final game.
If the character of, and I keep forgetting her name here,
KVS.
Kay. Yeah, if Kay Vess can become more than just another Han Solo smuggler type character in the way that Cal Kestis, I would have bet against him, but became more than just another Jedi archetype character.
Yeah. And then your thorn, something that you didn't like.
Despite it not being as open as it could have been in the ways that I don't like, I think that there are some things that feel a little slow about the game that I don't think are going to be fixed. And an example being the speeder. Speeder does not.
I meant to
feel
ask about
good.
that.
Doesn't feel good.
Oh no!
And we did a speeder race where I pulled up next to this guy and he wanted to race. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
That's close enough to
I'm
pod racing.
I'm
Big
into this.
slips.
And you start racing, and I was like, oh god, like either I'm doing something wrong, or it's kind of designed for me to always be behind this guy and lose this first race, or they want me to keep upgrading the speeder till eventually I can do this. And once we got to the end of the race, they're like, oh, well, you can upgrade. I was just like, I don't know, man. Like the gameplay felt slow, and then it felt like, oh, you're going to slowly drip feed me making this fun. I don't really like that. And I'm worried that methodology might leak into other systems in the game outside of the missions that we played. So yeah, that would be my thorn. I really fear that stuff is just part of the game.
Well, that brings us to the end of the Tim Geddes preview of Star Wars Outlaws. Let us know in the comments below. Are you excited? Are you less excited? Are you appropriately excited? Write down in the comments below, especially if you're an audio listener. If you're listening on Spotify, you might have a Spotify comment section. I'm trying to rally the audio listeners against the video listeners.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and so
Civil War.
Yeah, rise up, audio listeners. I'm with you. I'm with you. But you got to comment. You got to comment. Maybe not. Just comment.
Don't fight
audio
with
listeners
each other.
rise up.
Yeah.
Just type that in the comment section if you have it. Apparently, not everybody has it. Of course, this has been Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube. Get all of our shows ad-free, watch record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. Enjoy the stream after this. This is going to be Greg playing some of that Fallout London, and catch KFG if you missed it. YouTube, podcast services. And know that until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.